Willkommen Sie in einer anderen Episode von Auf das Field mit der McCollums. Es ist gut, wenn Sie uns beitreten. As you can tell, learning German is starting to come along a bit. I was recently able to complete my first entire course at language school. Although I still consider myself far from fluent, it has been good to be able to make small talk with people as well as handle transactions at the store completely in German. When I tell the Germans that I've only been living in the country for 2.5 months, they respond by telling me that I speak the language very well for someone who's only lived here that long. While this is very encouraging, I still know that I have a long way to go, and I'm still looking forward to the day when I'm able to present the gospel in its entirety in German to someone. Alicia has also been learning as much as she can with the two babies in the house. We have purchased the same textbooks for her that I'm using at the language school course, so I'm able to help her a little bit with that, and she's able to use that a little bit to learn some as well, but her time is a little bit limited with the babies. We are currently, however, looking into some self-paced online tutoring options for her. However, Alicia did order food the other day entirely in German at the restaurant, so that was a big deal for her. Please pray that we'll be able to find a viable solution for her language learning soon. One of the cons of the refugee migration has been the slowing down of the governmental and legal processes. This has also been the case with our processing of our visas. All of our paperwork was submitted in mid-February, and we hadn't heard anything up until this week. We were starting to get worried about that because our initial 90 days on our passports would have expired on May the 3rd. However, we did hear from the office this week that we are going to be able to stay in the country even past May 3rd, even past that 90 days, until we hear something back on our visas, and then we can act upon that and try to complete the process. If that hadn't have happened, we would have had a couple of options. One would have been to ask for a 90-day extension, which they would have most likely granted to us, knowing that they were being slow in the process. Another option would have been to cross into a country to get our passport stamped to show that we actually did leave the country, and then come back in just a few days later to start the 90 days over again. But in any case, we will still need prayer for the visas to be processed quickly, just to take the worries away from that. On Sunday, March 13th, I had the honor of preaching at Rhine River Baptist Church while the Clark family was away at a missions conference in Ansbach, Germany. I was able to preach a message out of John 4, and the Lord used it to encourage many of the church members to must needs go through Samaria to reach other people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. In late March, I was contacted by missionary Kevin Byers in Nuremberg, Germany. He explained that he and his son were going to be in the States for a couple of weeks, and we arranged for me to fill in for him on April 10th at the church in Nuremberg. So we packed up and headed out a day early on the 9th to Nuremberg to have a family day trip to the Nuremberg Tiergarten, or the Nuremberg Zoo, which claims to be the largest one in Germany. Well, Hannah has been learning a lot about animals lately and really loves animals, so this was a great opportunity for us to take her to a place where she could see many of the creatures that God has created. It was a joy for us to watch her point at different animals and say, "Wow!" We enjoyed the dolphin show together, as well as a petting zoo and a large playground area. On Sunday, I had the privilege of preaching all 3 services at Wortgottes Baptistengemeinde. The Sunday school hour and the first service were translated into German, after which we had some lunch. Now, because the building the church is in has been almost entirely converted into living quarters for Middle Eastern refugees, the third service was designed to be translated into the Farsi language. It was a blessing to see quite a few people show up at this service, and I was able to preach from 1 John 4 about the love of God, and I included a clear gospel presentation in the message. Although no one came forward for salvation, many were encouraged by it. Afterward, a young couple approached me to say thank you for preaching and thank you for coming. I began a conversation with them in the moments after, and they told me that they had migrated to Germany from Iran. The husband, Mohammed, told me that while living in Iran, he decided that he wanted to search for the truth for himself, and if that meant that he ended up being a Muslim, then it meant he ended up being a Muslim. If it meant that he ended up being something else, then he wanted to be that. He just wanted to search for the truth. However, he told me that he knew that choice would most likely mean certain death for him if he were to stay in Iran. So he took his wife, and they slowly and they quietly made their way toward Europe and ended up being placed in the same building as Vort Gottes Baptistengemeinde. When they heard the services were being offered in Farsi, they began attending. Finally, Muhammad had found the truth. Both he and his wife have since trusted Christ, and they expressed their gratefulness to just be in a place where they could openly hear more about God's love, without the fear of the threats of their life. There are thousands, yea, millions of people who are in the same situation that Muhammad and his wife were. And they have literally risked their lives just for a chance to find the truth, and they have come to Germany. We must make sure they find the truth. Well, that's all for this time. Don't forget, more information and updates can be found on our website, McCollum's4Germany.com. And you can reach us directly by emailing us at McCollum's4Germany@gmail.com. Please continue to pray that God will bless all the efforts going on here in Germany to bring many to salvation. And don't forget to join us again for the next edition of On the Field.